Good morning, good afternoon, good evening around the world. My name is Doug Brunke. I am the founder and CEO of Global Chamber. Positive intelligence is one of those intelligences that is so important. We all know IQ, I guess intellectual quotient. And over the years, I think most of us are very familiar with emotional intelligence and cultural intelligence. There's probably others. I did not discover positive intelligence until 2 or 3 years ago when Connie Kadansky, who was, I think at the time, our advisory board chair in Phoenix, shared it with me, and then a number of other members subsequently did. And as I've spoken about before, it was about chapter 7 or so in the book, about 3 or 4 weeks into using the app, the book by Shirzad Chamine, that I was actually riding my bike in a warm climate in Scottsdale, Arizona on the green belt. And I was somewhere near Camelback crossing under the bridge. And it just hit me that my brain was different. I just knew that something had clicked in listening to Shirzad, that I was thinking differently. And that was kind of the big step for me in making some transitions that I needed to make from where I was to where I'm headed going forward. So I'm a huge proponent of positive intelligence. And today we have two leaders, both based in South Africa, who will be sharing more about the application of positive intelligence and more holistically, the topic of leadership, health and wellness, and particularly mental fitness to combat burnout and boost performance. It is a wild time in the world right now, and technology is changing. It's very busy. There's people doing all sorts of things. We're trying to do way too much, both family and at work. And so, how do we manage it? How do we handle this and maintain not just our sanity, which seems like a pretty low bar, but also be amazing, be influential, be impactful, and do all the things that we want to do in life, both with family and business. And today's topic will be mostly business. So I'd like to introduce first, actually, I'll introduce both Ursula Fafarat, who's the mental fitness coach and key account manager at Positive Intelligence, based in South Africa, as I mentioned before, and then Paula Josiah, who's also a mental fitness coach and a key account manager at Positive Intelligence, also in South Africa. They help leaders get to the next level, to be successful, and we are really looking forward to being enlightened today. As I understand it, they have about 15 or so minutes of content, and then we have some time for Q&A. Ladies, thank you for taking us through this journey.
Thanks so much, Doug. That was a beautiful introduction. So you've actually now introduced us, so I'm not going to, do that again. So thank you for that beautiful welcome, and welcome to everybody. We really appreciate you joining us today. I think where we will start off, Pauls, is let's start with the agenda.
One second.
We can get into that. So the purpose of today is to have a look at what are saboteurs, and how they get in our way, and then ways to overcome saboteurs with SAGE, and we'll have a visualization, some reflection, and key takeaways. So before we dive into the content, I have a quick question for you. Just a show of hands. Who's ever felt like they're running on empty, even when things are going well on paper? Just by a show of hands, you can share an emoji. We would love to see if that resonates with you. You can also share in the chat a yes or a no. We would just love to see. Nobody. Okay. Right, so what we'll do is we'll have a discovery about what are our saboteurs with Paula, and she'll take us through that to just discuss what is that about? What is it? What does it actually, and what is the meaning of those? Over to you, Pauls.
Thank you. All right. Hi, everyone. It is amazing to be with you all today. We have some interesting content for you, and we're going to start with, well, what are these saboteurs that Ursula has been talking about? So, in the positive intelligence framework, which is developed by Shazad Shamin, there is a three-step process to improving your mental fitness. It is as simple as that. So, it all starts with step number one, which is actually understanding what is causing these problems or these issues or these saboteurs that are acting out in our lives. So, step number one is to understand what these saboteurs are, and they are the internal mental patterns and voices that generate negative emotions. So they limit our potential for success and happiness. So these saboteurs operate like internal critics inside of us. And they're actually our survival mechanism. So they're born in us in childhood and they're meant to protect us. But in adulthood, what happens is we take them too far and we lean on them too much. And that's when they actually start to sabotage our lives. And this happens especially in high stress environments. So leadership, entrepreneurship, high stress, you're going to encounter these saboteurs. So how do they behave? These saboteurs hijack our thoughts. They hijack our emotions and our actions. They keep us in a state of reactivity. They keep us anxious. They force us to be controlling, perfectionistic, or approval seeking. So they directly interfere with performance, relationships, and well-being. Give us a thumbs up or an emoji in the chat if this resonates with you, if you feel like, hey, this happens to me every now and then. So what can we do? What can we do about these saboteurs? So in total, there are 10 saboteurs. I know some of you have done the saboteur assessment already. If you haven't done the saboteur assessment, Ursula is going to post the link in chat after our session, and you can feel free to go online and see what your top saboteurs are. So luckily, we don't all have all 10. We usually have one or two that are our top saboteurs that we can see. They often show up. So it's a recurring saboteur. So the ones we're going to focus on today, we're going to focus on just two because of time. We want to make sure we give you as much insight as we can. So we're just going to focus on the controller and the hyperachiever today. So I'll go through that in more detail in a moment. So I mentioned step number one is understanding your saboteurs. Step number two is practicing what we call the self-command muscle. So this is what's going to help us move from the saboteur region of our brain, this region of our brain that's full of negativity, to a more positive region of our brain. But we have to, like any muscle, like working out at the gym, we have to practice this regularly. So by building this muscle, it's going to help us shift our brain activity from the saboteur region to the sage region. And what is the sage region? It is the part of our brain where calm, clarity, and creativity live. So strengthening this muscle involves moment-to-moment awareness and using simple techniques, which we call PQ reps, which is actually focused attention on physical sensations. So tiny exercises that you can do throughout the day to build this muscle and interrupt these negative thought patterns as they are happening. So once activated, we can move to step number three, and that is utilizing our sage powers. And this allows us to approach challenges with empathy, curiosity, and laser-focused action. These powers enable us to respond wisely instead of reacting automatically, improving our performance, relationships, and well-being. Give us a thumbs up if this is something you want. You want to improve your performance, relationships, and well-being. Hopefully that is across the board. We're going to see a lot of thumbs up. All right, so let's get into those saboteurs. So we're going to first take a look at the controller saboteur. So the controller saboteur believes that the only way to ensure things get done properly is to take charge, to push others and maintain control for yourself. It stems from a deep fear of being vulnerable and a belief that trust must be earned and rarely given. So what are some key traits of the controller saboteur? So first of all, there is high anxiety when the controller is not in control. So if someone else is taking the lead or making a suggestion, there's heightened anxiety. The controller likes to micromanage or dominate others. And then the controller also sees strong direction as necessary, even if it shuts down collaboration. So they believe it's literally their way or the highway. So here's a few examples, and let us know if any of these resonate with you. So how does the controller show up as entrepreneurs? So first up, micromanaging our teams. So as a startup founder, we can insist on reviewing every customer email before it's sent, stifling team autonomy and causing bottlenecks because they believe that if they don't check it, something's going to go wrong. Imagine the time it takes to check every email that's going out. And that's what the controller tells us is the right thing to do. Then we have resistance to delegation. So here, as a department head, as a leader at a growing company, we can struggle to scale because we don't trust team members to handle key tasks, because we fear failure and mistakes. So we actually don't delegate. So once again, imagine the time it takes to do all the tasks on a project instead of being able to delegate it to the individuals who have strengths in those areas. That's what the controller tells us to do. So lastly, pushing others too hard. So as a CEO, we can drive our teams relentlessly toward quarterly targets, showing little tolerance for personal struggles or work-life balance, believing that pressure equals performance. Imagine working under a leader like that. So the controller saboteur often hides behind the illusion of strength, but its roots lie in fear. Fear of vulnerability, fear of failure, and of losing control. So while it may drive short-term results, it ultimately erodes trust, collaboration, and long-term growth. And as leaders and entrepreneurs, our real power comes not from controlling everything or doing everything ourselves, but from cultivating trust, empowering others, and leading with clarity and calm. So when we quiet the controller, we create space for wiser, more sustainable leadership. So let us know, does this resonate with you? Put in chat if you feel like, hey, I've done this once or twice, or I've worked with someone who's done this and this is how it made me feel. Please feel free to put that in chat. We would love to hear from you.
I can see some heads going.
I
All
think we've all been
shaking
there.
yes, yeah.
I think we've all been there, either on the receiving end or we've actually found ourselves in that position as well, where we've been a little bit of a controller in certain situations. So thank you for that.
Got someone in the chat saying I had a boss like that, and that's not great. Yes.
It's not the best, does not bring out the best in us. So let's move on to the hyperachiever saboteur. So the hyperachiever's identity and self-worth are tied to external success, achievement, and recognition. So this saboteur drives constant goal chasing, often at the expense of inner fulfillment, emotional depth, and authentic relationships. So it's all about what are we achieving? What is the next goal? So we can't even enjoy what's happening right now. We're always looking to what's coming next. How can I achieve a goal? How can I be more successful? So some key traits of the hyperachiever, it focuses heavily on image and success. So it's really looking for that external validation. It defines its self-worth by performance. So how much have I achieved this week? That's how worthy an employee or an employer that I am. Lastly, it avoids vulnerability and slowing down. There's no time to slow down. We must go full speed ahead all the time. We can't even take a moment to enjoy where we've come and what we've already achieved. We must look to what's happening next. So here's a few examples. Once again, let us know if this resonates with you, if you've been in this position. So how does the hyperachiever show up? So as founders, so let's look at workaholism and burnout. I think this is something we could probably all relate to. As founders, we can work 14 hours, 14-hour days, skipping family events and skipping sleep, constantly seeking the next win or milestone to feel valuable or enough. 14-hour workdays. Think about how productive we can be on that little bit of sleep. Probably not very. Example number 2, neglecting team culture. So as senior executives, we can focus on, yeah?
We've got someone in here that said they struggled with email for a long time, and then they did the 4-hour working week or so with Tim Ferriss, and that was great, but then WhatsApp arrived. So trying to be the controllers at that.
It's difficult. It's
Yeah.
difficult in this age of technology where everyone seems to have access to you, right? So
Yes.
again, it's about boundaries and being able to switch off when you need to switch off. Great. So let's take a look at neglecting team culture. So as senior executives, we focus so much on hitting KPIs and impressing stakeholders that we ignore employee morale, leading to disengagement and high turnover. So we forget that, hey, we might be hyperachievers, but that doesn't necessarily mean that our employees are also willing to work these 14-hour days. They, they have families, they have things that they want to do. And if you don't take that into account, you end up with high turnover. So example number 2 is a fear of failure and image control. So as entrepreneurs, we avoid pivoting or admitting a failed strategy publicly, even when it's necessary, because it would tarnish our image of always succeeding. So again, it comes back to this external validation, this external view of what it means to be successful. So we can't even pivot because we're already going full steam ahead. So the hyperachiever saboteur convinces us that our worth depends on constant success and external validation. So while it can drive impressive accomplishments, it often leaves us feeling empty, disconnected, and exhausted. So true sustainable leadership comes not from chasing achievements at all costs, but from aligning with our values, embracing vulnerability, and finding fulfillment beyond the next goal. So when we quiet the hyperachiever, we make space for authenticity, balance, and deeper impact. Please let us know if this resonates with you, if you have been a hyperachiever, if you are, maybe you have a hyperachiever saboteur right now that you're trying to get under control, or if you've worked with someone who has a strong hyperachiever. Please let us know in chat. Over to you, Ursula.
Thanks, Paul's. Just keeping an eye on here if somebody is busy. If somebody's going to send through anything, but I don't see anything in the chat. Might come through a little bit later, but for the sake of time, I'm going to move on. So what we're going to look at next is the core 4 of PQ. So what this is, it's the business pain points and how it links into the 4 PQ strategies. So we look at 4 of these quadrants to see which one of these you would potentially fit into. So these 4 are called burnout and well-being, adapting to change, performance pressure, and leadership and team cohesion. So I'm going to start with burnout and well-being, and I'll give you a few of these pain points. And then if you'd like, you can raise your hand, you can share in the chat, yes, these do resonate with you, and so forth. So you will experience things like constant fatigue or brain fog. There'll be a lack of motivation or disengagement, and you'll experience emotional exhaustion and irritability, and you'll even feel overwhelmed by the smallest tasks. So this falls under burnout and well-being. So if this resonates with you, raise your hand, share emoji, say yes in the chat. And we'll have a look at adapting to change, which is you'll have You'll see resistance or pushback towards new initiatives, and this could be yourself or your peers or your colleagues. You'll see procrastination or avoidance of behaviors, and then you'll have frustration or fear of making mistakes, and that will lead to discomfort with uncertainty. So please share in the chat if any of these resonate with you. And then when we look at performance pressure, if you've seen the following, like anxiety about meeting goals or deadlines, perfectionism and fear of failure, and mental overdrive, meaning like the difficulty to switch off. Your brain is constantly working overtime, and you're then have physical signs like headaches or even poor sleep. And then lastly, leadership and team cohesion. Miscommunication or siloed behavior, lack of trust among team members, conflict avoidance or blame shifting, and unclear leadership and confusion around roles. So the confusion around roles cause multiple conflict issues. So if you'd like to share in the chat which one resonates the most with you, then you can do so, and we'll have a poll at the end where you can rate which one, of course, resonates more with you. So we'll have a look at wellness and burnout first. So burnout is costly, and it's not just a financial term, but also in lost potential, disengagement, and of course the toll it takes on people. As pressure mounts in today's business world, many employees push through at the expense of their well-being. But what if high performance didn't have to come with a side of burnout? Right? So that's where positive intelligence, or PQ, comes in. They go beyond the surface level, and it targets the root cause of burnout by helping individuals identify and intercept the negative thought patterns. So through simple daily practices, PQ helps to build mental fitness by strengthening the ability to shift from stress-driven reactions to calm and clear-headed responses. And this is how leaders and team learn to thrive and not just survive. And the result for this is a measurable drop in burnout rates, fewer sick days, less fatigue and overwhelm, and most importantly, a more resilient and focused workforce that's ready to take on challenges. So I'll share a real life example of Lena. She was an international trade coordinator based in Singapore, and she starts a day with early calls to Europe and ends it with late night check-ins with North America. So she was stretched quite thinly and struggled to stay focused, and increasingly became more irritable. And her performance was dipping, and she started to question whether was she in the right career. And what PQ helped her with is to use what we call 10-second PQ mental reps between meetings to reset her nervous system and stay grounded. And over time, she felt more in control, less overwhelmed, and reconnected with the meaning behind her work. So if this is something that resonates with you, please share. But I do have a question, and I would like you to take a minute if you'd like to write it down, if you'd like to share it in the chat. What challenges related to burnout are you seeing in your team that may need attention or support? I'll give you a few seconds to think about that. If you'd like to share in the chat, please do. I see there's a few. Okay. All right. So I'm going to have a look at adapting to change. So I'm going to move on just for the sake of time. Balance, more balance. Energy is gone at 11:30. No motivation. Yes. So that does make sleep. Right. Thank you for sharing, everybody. I see Julia has shared quite a lengthy message here. Energy is gone 11:30. No motivation to move on with new and strategic projects. I believe I'm burnt out. last week on a business meeting, someone talked about it, and I said, what I just wrote here, and he goes, no, you are not burnt out, you are just repressed. And I said, do not help me, compadre. I still think I'm burnt out. It's more about me than my team. Okay. Well, we can have a look at that. There's many ways on how we could look at that and determine that by, as Paul has shared, you can determine what are your saboteurs and work on those as an individual and move forward from there. And we can teach you some techniques for that. So I'm going to move on to change. So it's no longer the exception, right? Change. It's become the norm. In today's fast-paced business environment, teams are constantly being asked to pivot, adapt, and evolve. And yet, for many employees, change triggers anxiety, resistance, or even burnout. So that's why the mental agility is no longer a nice to have, it's a necessity. And PQ equips employees with the mental fitness to meet change with confidence rather than fear. And using brain activation techniques and simple daily practices, you can build what we call sage powers. And that is inner resources that help people reframe challenges. And we'll dive a little bit deeper into that with Paul's. But the impact of this is that teams become more adaptable. New initiatives roll out faster and with less pushback. So I have another real life example here to share. We had a client called Marco. He was a global logistics director in Italy, and he was preparing for a live negotiation with a high value buyer in Brazil. So the stakes were very high. Any misstep could have jeopardized a $5 million deal. So he battled with anxiety, self-doubt, and, it was affecting his confidence. So through PQ and the practices that we gave him, he learned to recognize and quiet his internal judge and controller. And he walked into the negotiation with a clear mind. He listened actively and navigated the discussion very calmly. And he closed the deal successfully and had his mutual trust intact. So my question for some reflection for all of you is change having an impact on your organization? I'll give you a second to think about that, or share it in the chat, please. Okay, I see. Yes, tech is changing. Yes, I do have an example about the tech as well. Yes, market change, business change, accepting that change is a huge challenge. Yes, that's true. Thank you for sharing. Trade is changing, tariff shifting, geopolitics. Yes. Right. So now let's move on to performance pressure. And I think everybody can resonate with this as well. So that is also a constant in high-performing environments, is the pressure. But how your team responds to it can make all the difference. If you leave it unchecked, performance pressure leads to stress and poor decisions. But with the right tools, that same pressure can become a catalyst for clarity. So PQ doesn't eliminate pressure. It equips your people to handle it better. So by building mental fitness through daily practices, employees learn to quiet the mental noise that clouds judgment and hijacks productivity. So instead of reaching out of stress or fear, they respond with clarity and calm. The result for this is a team that not only performs under pressure, but thrives in it, delivering stronger outcomes and gaining a sustainable competitive edge. So Fatima, a trade operations manager in Morocco, was hesitant about her company's move to AI-driven customs processing. So she relied on her manual review methods for years and fears becoming obsolete in the new system. So what PQ helped her with is she learned to quiet her avoider and stickler saboteurs. So these are other saboteurs because in totality we have 10. And with regular mental fitness practice, she began to embrace the learning curve and saw that the AI system can be used as a tool to enhance her expertise rather than replace it. And, her proactive attitude influenced her peers across the trade network to accelerate innovation. So I'm curious, what's one area in your team organization where a boost in performance would make the biggest impact? I'll give you a minute to think about that. Please share in the chat if you'd like to let me know. Okay, I see there is something here in the chat. I think a lot of people are struggling with adapting to change. Scarcity mindset is one issue causing people to struggle with decision making. Yes, Jacob, absolutely. If someone else wants to share anything, I'll give it another second. With the AI, there is a new world to discover, yet big change. Very good. Yes, that's true. Teamwork, including understanding the differences between people. Absolutely. Thank you. All right. So we'll now look at leadership and team cohesion. So strong teams and effective leaders aren't just assets. They're the foundation of every stressful organization. But in our fast-paced demands of modern business, even the best teams can struggle with miscommunication, low trust, and siloed thinking. So PQ helps transform those dynamics. Rooted in the science of mental fitness is that PQ builds stronger teams by developing the emotional intelligence and leadership skills that drive collaboration and trust. So we make use of sage powers like empathy, curiosity, and inspired action. So team members learn to communicate more openly, resolve conflict, and make better decisions. And the result is stronger team dynamics, more empowered leadership, and a culture where people feel heard, they feel valued, and motivated. So Carlos, based in Mexico, is leading a multicultural team across 4 continents for a global product rollout. Misunderstandings, delayed responses, and cultural disconnects are stalling progress. So tensions are growing and the trust is eroded. So Carlos introduces the PQ program to his team with a shared language and mental fitness framework. So the team develops empathy, better listening, and collaborative problem solving. They became more aligned and agile and delivered the rollout ahead of the global summit deadline. So my question that I will leave you with is, what qualities would you like to see less of or more of in your team? So please write that down, or if you'd like to share in the chat, that's also good. I like the synergizing strengths. Autonomy, trust from leadership. Yes. Thank you very much, Jacob. All right. So we now have an interactive session where you can take a minute to do a reflection for yourself. Okay. I need to launch the poll here. So just by you can select which one of these 4 quadrants resonates most with you. Can everybody see the poll?
Yep.
Right. Burnout and well-being. Okay. Leadership and team cohesion. I see. Okay, great. Burnout and well-being is taking the front row so far. I'll just wait a few more seconds. Burnout and well-being and leadership and team cohesion are the two frontliners. Right. Okay. So great. So just by looking at these results, you can clearly see that burnout and well-being is definitely one of the front runners, and then leadership and team cohesion is our second front runner. Right. So I would like you to please take a moment and write down for yourself, what is your biggest challenge at the moment? Okay. And then what would be possible for you and your team if this challenge got 10% easier? And what is one small shift you're willing to try this week to move toward that? So we'll put a 2-minute timer on the screen to give you some time. Let me just close that.
So feel free to write down your answers or put it in chat so we can also have a look.
Yes. Communication, my time challenge, or your team challenge. Okay. To execute with passion, energy, and strategic view to projects right now without forgetting actual operation of business. Thank you, Julio. Small steps sure will help a lot. Yes, that's true. Thank you for sharing. Uncertainty, markets, fundraisings, time, participation, etc. Also, burnout recovery, trying to take more time to slow down and rest. It is important, Jacob. It is important. Thank you for sharing. Right, so as the clock is turning down here and running out, I want to share that we will now move over to Paula again, and she will share with us how do we navigate these nasty saboteurs, what we call with the sage, and she'll take us through a beautiful visualization. Thanks, Pauls.
Excellent. Thank you. I feel like I got intro music. The sage brain represents the part of our mind that operates from a place of calm, clarity, creativity, and compassion. So it is the complete opposite of the saboteur region of our brain. So while the saboteur region generates negative emotions that cloud judgment and limit our potential, the sage brain is rooted in positive emotions and grounded in wisdom. So it's what allows us to perform at our best under pressure, helps us to recover quickly from setbacks, and lead with empathy, insight, and resilience. So in short, it's the part of our brain we want to be using, especially during times of change or times of uncertainty. So let's look at some key characteristics of the sage brain. So it's rooted in presence and awareness, so being in the moment. It is not rooted in fear or ego like our saboteur region. It's powered by positive emotions, empathy, curiosity, creativity, gratitude, and purposeful actions. It activates the prefrontal cortex and other parts of our brain that are associated with executive functioning, innovation, and big picture thinking. So there are 5 SAGE powers in total in the Positive Intelligence Program. We've got innovate, activate, empathy, explore, and navigate. And each one has a unique way of activating our SAGE brain and helping us to overcome these saboteurs and find the best way forward. So for the sake of time, today we're only going to look at one of those 5 powers, which also happens to be my favorite of the SAGE powers, which is the navigate power. And in the Positive Intelligence framework, the navigate power helps you to align your decisions and actions with your core values and your deeper purpose. So rather than reacting from fear or ego, now we're connecting to what our big picture is. So it's like an internal compass that guides us to make choices that we'll be proud of in the long term. And this is especially in moments of pressure, conflict, or uncertainty, something you go through on a daily basis, most likely. So by tapping into navigate, leaders and entrepreneurs, we can stay grounded. We can prioritize what really matters, and we can reduce burnout and regret because we're acting in alignment with who we want to be, not just what our saboteurs demand in the moment. So we're going to do a navigate visualization. So I'm going to talk you through what it means to use this navigate power. So I invite you to turn your camera off. I'm going to do the same. Please get comfortable in your seat. I'm going to take you on a visualization of your wiser, older self so that we can apply this power with ease and flow. So feel free to close your eyes and return to a neutral state with your back straight and your feet firmly on the floor. So let your head be straight and relaxed. Feel your breath as you breathe in and out. Let your breath get back to a neutral rhythm. So we're going to take a trip to see our wiser older self, sound of mind and healthy of body. So it's a warm spring day and you find yourself walking down a beautiful road. There's big, tall trees and freshly mown grass. There's the gentle sound of sprinklers as they generously shower the flowers, as well as all the well-kept flower beds. You find yourself walking towards one house in particular. In fact, it looks like your dream house, the house you always wanted. You make your way to the front door. You find the handle and you gently push the door open. As you enter, you see decorations, balloons, streamers, party hats, all in your favorite color. You make your way to the living room. As you walk in, imagine the coziest, most comfortable room you can imagine. Think about where the furniture is placed. What are the colors of the wall? Feel the softness of the couch. And now, in the corner of the room, you see your wiser, older self sitting calmly and satisfied from a life well lived. You take note of your wiser, older self. You notice the expression in their eyes. You notice the expression on their face, the aura and the attitude on your wiser, older self's face. So as you get closer, you can feel their energy. They're excited and happy to be celebrating a life well lived. Just you and them. So you lock eyes and smile. You can tell that they have so much to say, and you have so many questions to ask. They're waiting to impart their knowledge. And now you ask your wiser, older self, what's important for me to pay attention to? What's really important for me to pay attention to? You take a moment and you listen to what they have to say. And then you ask your wiser, older self, what's not important that I shouldn't worry about? What's actually not important that I shouldn't be worrying about? And finally, you ask your wiser, older self, what advice do you have for how to live my life? What advice do you have for how to best live my life? And now your wiser, older self has a gift for you in a box. This gift symbolizes what they want you to pay attention to and be guided by. So what's in the box? What do you see? What will remind you of what to pay attention to and be guided by? So you thank your wiser, older self and share a heartfelt goodbye hug. You start to absorb the energy of your wiser, older self, and you start to feel their spirit inside you. As you leave the room, you feel the warmth and comfort that it represents, and you feel gratitude and love for what you've experienced as you slowly walk away. You become mindful of your body. You become mindful of your breath. And finally, you feel yourself on your seat. You feel the presence of your wiser, older self with you, that ageless wisdom that is in you. This is your sage, your constant essence as you age and grow. So take another deep breath in, feeling your stomach rise and fall as you do. And when you're ready, please feel free to open your eyes. And if you would like, you can turn your camera back on. All right, so that is our navigate visualization. This is what we want to be using when we are thinking big picture. Where am I going? What am I really trying to achieve here? Please put in chat how that made you feel, or if you learned something from your wiser older self in that moment. Give you a minute or two to put that in there.
Thanks so much for that pause. That was lovely. Just love that visualization. I don't see anything in the chat as yet. Staying connected to the sage is so important. Love that. Yes.
100%.
And hard. Yes. That's why mental fitness is not going to the gym once and thinking you can do it. It's a continuous practice. If you want to be fit at the gym, you go every week. If you want to be mentally fit, you need to go and do your exercises every day, every week. Right, so we don't have anything else in the chat. So I think just for our final reflection, I have one question for you all that you can please write down. And then, we'll close with for some Q&A after this. So what's one insight you're taking away from today? And one shift you'll commit to making this week using your navigate power to address your biggest challenge? If you want to write that down for yourself, please. Right. Okay, so how does this all work? What is this all about? So we have a PQ program which focuses on our 3 core muscles that we've mentioned today. So going through the saboteurs and using your self-command and then using your sage, which Paula has taken us through for the visualization today. So when you strengthen your mental fitness, everything else gets stronger too. Everything else gets more calm. You get more clarity. And the outcome will be less burnout, clearer focus, stronger teams, and higher leadership impact. So the global marketplace isn't slowing down, and neither should your people. And if you're serious about building resilience, high-performing teams who can adapt, lead, and thrive through constant change or any difficulty, now is the time to invest in your mental fitness. So Paula will take us through some key insights of today. And in the interim, I will share some information with regards to our saboteur assessment and our contact details as well.
Excellent. Thank you. And thank you to everyone for joining us today. So what did we look at today? So we learned a bit more about our saboteurs, who are our inner critics. We learned about some PQ tools like the Sage powers and specifically the Navigate power. And then we looked at how all of this relates to business. So what are the key benefits to business when it comes to mental fitness? So first of all, it reduces burnout. We have more energy, less emotional exhaustion. It improves our performance. So it helps us with clear, confident decisions under pressure. We can handle change better because we are more mentally agile and less resistant. And it boosts leadership and team's performance because we have more empathy, trust, and collaboration. So that's what we looked at today. So what are some next steps for you? So you can join forward-thinking global leaders who are using PQ to reduce burnout, boost performance, and unlock lasting competitive advantage. So feel free to take our contact details or scan the QR code if you are interested in learning more. Actually, if you scan the QR code, you can take our survey. At PQ, feedback is considered a gift, and we would really appreciate your feedback on this session. As a thank you, we have a little handout that you will get at the end of the survey. So please scan that QR code. I think Ursula is also going to put the link in chat. And please thank you. Please take our feedback form. Please complete that for us, and you will get a PQ handout with more information. Over to you, Ursula.
Thanks, Paul's right. Thanks so much, Jacob. My sage told me to focus on balance, a key takeaway. Spend time each day reconnecting with this advice. Thanks so much, Jacob. That's beautiful. Does anybody have any questions for Paula and myself? Please, the floor is open. If you'd like to unmute, please do. We're happy to take some questions with the time that's left. We know we're a bit over time here, but we do have 2 minutes if someone wants to ask anything.
And we can go over a couple minutes just in case. Does anybody have any questions, please? I did notice that Chet is having a root canal, so that seems like a path that we probably would not want to travel. So Chet, if you're still hearing this, good luck with that. This was much more pleasant than that.
Positive intelligence quotient is what PQ stands for.
One question that would seem to make sense is what do people do next? You know, in the past, Global Chambers had a link, and we do have a blog post with a path to sign up for the app. Could you share a little bit more? Or maybe we should have talked about this ahead of time, but what are some of your thoughts about what next steps are? Is it a conversation?
Yes, so they can either reach out to us via email, or if they'd like to book directly on our calendar links, we've shared that in the chat. We can also share it via email if you would like to also share it with everybody else. So that's how they can get in contact with us or book some time on our calendars.
Are there other PQ folks in the audience today that have used the app or are familiar with positive intelligence?
Nice question. I don't see anything in the chat.
Does anyone want to come off mute to ask
How are
a
you,
question?
Lida? Are you still in Italy?
Yeah, I'm still in Italy. Yes, thank you.
Is this you have a nice little ghost effect going on with your Zoom. That's really cool. You have to teach us how to do that. Are you familiar with positive intelligence, and what did you learn?
No, it's the first time I hear about this, and I think it's phenomenal. I click on the link that they ask questions, and it's interesting because every question make me question myself, like, oh, do I have that? Do I have that? So it's very good. The link is very helpful. Thank you. It's great. Yeah.
Thank you, Lida. She's based in Phoenix area, but she's traveling in Italy for a while. So
Next week I'll be in Colombia.
oh, okay. Very good.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, I don't hear anyone making, and I don't see any additional comments. Would you ladies like to make any final comments before we close the room?
Yes, I just want to add that, for the survey to get the handout, the code name is Ursula Paula all together in one. So in case someone loses that when we close off this chat.
Sounds good. And if anybody has any questions or has any trouble, just info@globalchamber.org can always get you in. Thanks everybody for participating. Lida from Italy and Julio, I think probably you're in Mexico today. Good to see you. Thanks for joining and sharing. And Ivan is an HR leader and has got to know positive intelligence. He's such a mindful leader. He's probably already using it or something like it. I know when my wife sees me stressed, you guys brought me back to the app and Shirzad Shamin's very calming voice where it's time to rub two fingers together kind of a thing. She always says, I think you need to go rub your fingers together. Ivan, can you relate to a lot of this, what you heard today?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think, I will share this. I was pleasantly surprised you guys even integrate a little bit of innovation in here. So that's
Great. Thank you.
PQ is very versatile.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, and from the standpoint of when you hit your sage, you're going to more likely be more innovative. Is that kind of the angle?
Yeah, definitely. And there's a lot of aspects where we don't realize that we're we're engaging in innovation as well.
Mm.
And that awareness is huge.
Even if it's just something simple like looking at a problem in a different way and solving it in a different way. The
That's it.
lizard,
But Doug,
right?
that's it.
Yeah,
That is it.
yeah.
That's awareness. You don't
Mhm.
realize it a lot, and most people don't.
Yeah.
So we went through the navigate power today, but one of the other sage powers, as you would know, Ivan, if you've been through the program, is the innovate power. So it is a sage power on its own, where we teach participants to do exactly that. Think out the box. Think about what could be different. And there's actually a game that you can play. We obviously didn't have time today, but that's exactly what we look at. How can we be more innovative?
Mm.
Yep.
And how do you stay curious about what's just right?
Mm.
And how to be more innovative as a team. That whole, I don't know if that's what
Mm.
you're talking about, that thing that Shirzad does when there's a team together. And the normal process is someone hears an idea and it's like, oh, that's a bad idea. But find the one part of the idea that you like and build on that and see where that goes. And in the book, I thought that was brilliant how he goes through that back and forth where, instead of getting all upset about other people's ideas that aren't fully baked, just embrace what's good about it, even if it's 10% or 1%, and it opens up all sorts of avenues.
Mm.
So
Yes.
thanks everybody for joining today. And ladies, that was really the best I've seen this presented. And I love the interplay between the two of you. I thought that was really excellent. The content was great and how you've worked together was great. You've worked together before, I presume. Have you presented?
Yes.
Many times,
Yeah,
many
no, look.
times.
It was fantastic. And Ursula, do you call Paula Pauls?
Yes, it's
Yeah, she does.
a nickname. It's just
Okay.
It
So,
just
so
happens.
is that a
it's
South
not
African
sage.
thing or what
No,
is
it's just it's
Just
just
a
a
shortened version of my name that's already shortened.
a term of endearment? I get it. Okay.
Yes, there we
Well,
go.
Yes. Yes.
thank you so much. And thanks everybody for joining. Hope this is a great start to your week and hopefully it doesn't get too much snow there in Joburg and everything works out well. Take care, everybody. Have a great week.
Thank you.
Happy Monday, everyone.
much.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Ivan.
Bye.
You're amazing.
Thank you.
Bye,
Thanks, Jim.
everyone.
Bye.
Thanks,
Bye.
everybody.